Have you ever been stabbed in the back by the very hand you held up the longest? It's not strangers who break us. It's the ones we laugh with, cry with, trust without question. Betrayal doesn't knock with a warning. It smiles, it reassures. It whispers, "I'd never hurt you," until it does. Ask yourself, how many times did you forgive? Not because they deserved it, but because you were afraid to walk away. Betrayal doesn't come wearing the face of an enemy. It wears the face of someone you love, a friend you once confided in, a partner you gave your heart to, a family member you would have defended with your life. That's the deepest kind, because it's dressed in history, in shared moments. In the illusion of safety, it rarely begins with a war. No, it starts in the shadows, a subtle lie here, a casual broken promise there, a boundary crossed just this once. You overlook it. You make excuses. You say they didn't mean it. But with time, the pattern hardens like stone. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. This video isn't a rant. It's not about revenge, bitterness, or clinging to pain. It's about clarity, strength, and refusing to normalize what should never be tolerated. The Stoics believed that hardship doesn't break us, it reveals us. Adversity, they said, is the fire where clarity is forged, and betrayal, that's the flame where your true standards are reborn. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that reaction starts with recognition. Here's one truth most people avoid. Forgiveness without wisdom isn't compassion, it's self-destruction. When you keep forgiving the wrong person, you teach them that your pain is negotiable, that they can hurt you, and you'll stay. Not every betrayal is an accident. Some are conscious choices, and choices, repeated over time, reveal character more than any apology ever will. So today, we're going to talk about 7 types of betrayal you must never excuse, not because you're bitter, but because you're finally strong enough to stop settling for less than you deserve. We're not here to blame, we're here to grow. And growth begins the moment you face the truth. Let's be clear, if someone lies to you consistently, disrespects your boundaries, mocks your struggles, abandons you when you're at your lowest, talks about you behind your back, gaslights you, breaks your trust again and again, that is not love. That is not loyalty. That is betrayal. And the Stoic response: let it go, but not with rage or revenge in your heart, with strength, with clarity, with purpose. You are not here to rehabilitate those who choose to harm you. You are here to protect your peace, to honor your worth, and to walk forward without apology. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for and, more importantly, how to respond with strength, not reaction. So stay with me, it begins now. Next, betrayal number 1, repeated lies. Let me know when you're ready to continue rewriting the X section. But as we discussed, when someone breaks your trust through repeated lies, it's not just the false words that hurt, it's the erosion of certainty. It becomes harder to trust them, and harder to trust yourself, because the danger isn't just in the lie itself. It's in what the lie creates: doubt, anxiety, constant second-guessing. You begin to question everything. Are they telling the truth this time? Were they ever honest with me at all? You start rewinding old conversations in your head like a detective, hunting for red flags you might have missed. You walk on eggshells, trying to make sense of a relationship that now feels less like a partnership and more like sinking into quicksand. No footing, no stability, just the slow pull of uncertainty. Let's be clear, this isn't love. This is emotional survival. And survival is no foundation for anything healthy or lasting. A person who lies to you repeatedly isn't making innocent mistakes. They're making deliberate choices. And those choices reflect their character, not their circumstances. Why do they lie? Because it protects their image. Because it serves their needs. Because they believe, based on past experience, you'll forgive them again and again. The Stoics had no tolerance for deception. Epictetus once said, "The truth is simple. Lies require a web of deception. Truth stands alone. It needs no defense, no camouflage, but a lie. It demands more lies just to survive, until, inevitably, it collapses under the weight of its own fabrication, and when it falls, it often takes the entire relationship with it." Take Daniel, for example, a man who loved deeply, too deeply. His partner lied about small things at first. Harmless, he thought, tiny, forgettable lies. But soon, the lies grew: where she went, who she was with, how she spent money. Each time, she had an excuse ready. "I didn't want to hurt you. It's not what you think." But no matter how many times Daniel forgave her, nothing changed. The behavior continued. Until one day, he stopped believing the apologies. Because he realized she wasn't sorry for the lies. She was only sorry when she got caught. Forgiving a single lie can be wise. But forgiving repeated lies, that's when you begin betraying your own values. Because if someone lies to you more than once, you're not just being lied to, you're being tested. And every time you let it go, you teach them 3 dangerous lessons: that honesty is optional, that your boundaries are flexible, and that they can keep doing it without consequence. So what's the Stoic response? First, stop making excuses for their behavior. Second, watch what they do, not what they say. And third, do not tolerate dishonesty as a habit. Walk away, because once trust is gone, love has nothing solid left to stand on. Never forgive someone who uses truth like a tool when it benefits them. They do not deserve your loyalty. And once the lies fade, another layer of betrayal begins to reveal itself. It's quieter, subtler, but just as destructive. It comes through the gradual erosion of something essential: your boundaries last. Time, we saw how people who repeatedly cross your boundaries aren't confused, they're careless. They know what you need, but they choose to ignore it. And when someone keeps ignoring your limits, they're not just challenging your comfort, they're slowly chipping away at your self-worth. Take Lisa, for example. She was in a long-term relationship that looked fine on the outside, but underneath, her needs were constantly dismissed. When she told her partner she needed space to decompress during stressful moments, he didn't give her room, he pushed harder. When she asked him to respect her privacy and not go through her phone, he excused it with, "I'm just worried about you." When she expressed discomfort, he didn't listen. He accused her of being cold and emotionally distant. Over time, Lisa stopped trusting her own feelings. Maybe I'm overreacting, she thought. But deep down, something didn't feel right. And that's because it wasn't. The truth was plain. He didn't misunderstand her boundaries. He just didn't care about them. And one day, something in her shifted. She stopped explaining herself. She stopped justifying his behavior. And she walked away. Not in rage, not in a scene, but in quiet strength. Because she finally understood. A person who doesn't respect your boundaries can't love you in a way that respects your identity. So what should you do when someone disrespects your boundaries? First, make your limits clear. Say them with confidence. without guilt, without apology. Second, pay close attention to repetition. A mistake happens once. A pattern, that's a choice. And third, if someone consistently crosses the line, walk away. Not to punish them, but to protect yourself. Because a healthy relationship never requires you to shrink yourself. Stay silent or feel unsafe in your own skin. Never forgive someone who treats your limits like suggestions. Because someone who refuses to honor your boundaries will never truly honor you. Betrayal number 3. Breaking trust. Trust is not something handed out freely. It's not a gift, it's a bond built slowly, over time, through truth, actions, and consistency. When someone breaks that trust, especially knowing it will hurt you, it's not a slip, it's a betrayal. And the wound it leaves behind cuts deeper than most. Because it doesn't just hurt the relationship, it shifts your entire view of the person. You may try to rationalize it. It was just one time. They were under stress. They didn't mean to. But once that sacred bond is broken, nothing feels the same. Suddenly, everything becomes a question. Are they being honest now? Were they ever honest before? You second-guess your instincts, doubt your memories, and start losing trust in your own judgment. That's the hidden damage of betrayal. It doesn't just break your trust in them, it breaks your trust in yourself. And the most painful part, the one who hurt you often wants to skip the consequences. They say sorry, make promises, and act as if things can go back to normal. But they can't, because once trust is shattered, something fundamental dies. No apology can restore the emotional safety you once felt, Seneca said. Confidence in another is destroyed the moment deceit is detected. And he was right. The very second you catch someone hiding the truth, something inside you changes. It doesn't matter how long you've known them. It doesn't matter how sincere they seem after. That single moment of betrayal rewrites your entire story with them. Let me tell you about Jake. He was engaged to someone he trusted completely. They shared everything, or so he believed. Until one day, he found out she'd been secretly messaging someone from her past. At first, she denied it. Then, she downplayed it. Eventually, she admitted it, but claimed it didn't mean anything. Jake wanted to believe her. He wanted to forgive, but he couldn't forget. Every conversation after that felt different. The warmth was gone. The certainty, gone. And in its place, a quiet ache that refused to leave. Over time, Jake realized something crucial. He wasn't building a future anymore. He was managing damage, and that is not what trust should ever feel like. So, what do you do when someone breaks your trust? First, stop trying to fix what they chose to break. It's not your responsibility to rebuild what they destroyed. Second, observe their behavior. Don't listen to their promises. Watch their consistency. Words can lie. Patterns don't. And finally, accept this truth. Some damage can't be repaired. You are allowed to move forward, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Betrayal number 4. Mocking your vulnerabilities. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's courage in its purest form. When you open your heart to someone, when you reveal your fears, your insecurities, your traumas, you're not being fragile. You're being brave. You're saying, "This is who I really am beneath the armor." And in doing so, you are offering them something sacred, your trust. But when someone takes that gift and uses it against you, even in the form of a joke, that is betrayal on the most personal level. It doesn't always begin with cruelty. It often starts small. A teasing remark about your past, a light jab at something you once shared in confidence. People laugh, they smile. You smile too, but inside, something sinks, because you know what you shared was real. And now, it's been reduced to a punchline. True connection comes from mutual respect. When someone mocks your vulnerability, they're not bonding with you. They're controlling the moment. They're using your honesty to boost themselves, to entertain others, to feel superior. And in that moment, they show you something crystal clear. Your pain is not safe with them. The Stoics deeply valued dignity. Epictetus said, "The man who laughs at your wounds does not deserve a place in your life." The words are simple but powerful, because if someone mocks what hurts you, they are not your friend. They are your lesson. Emma learned this the hard way. She had struggled quietly with anxiety for years. When she finally gathered the courage to share her fear of public speaking and her panic attacks with a close friend, he seemed supportive at first, but later, in group settings, he would joke, "Don't ask Emma to talk, she might faint." People laughed. Emma laughed, too, out of habit. But inside, she felt exposed, belittled, and deeply hurt. Eventually, she realized the truth. This wasn't support. It was betrayal disguised as humor. And the pain stayed long after the laughter ended. That friend had taken something sacred, her vulnerability, and turned it into cheap entertainment. So how do you respond when someone mocks your pain? First, trust your feelings. If something they say makes you feel small or ashamed, it's not just a joke, it's a warning. Second, confront it once. Tell them clearly that's not okay. If they truly respect you, they'll stop. If they laugh it off or deflect, they never respected you in the first place. And third, protect yourself. Remove access. Do not share your heart with those who treat it like a stage for laughter. Because real friends don't use your fears as punchlines. They hold them gently. They defend you, even in your absence. Real partners don't weaponize your struggles. They honor them. They walk beside you when you're most unsure of yourself, not mock you when you're most open and real love. It sees your scars and respects them. Never forgive someone who laughs at your pain, because someone who mocks your wounds will never be the one who helps you heal. Betrayal #5. Abandoning you in difficult times. It's easy to stand beside someone when life is smooth, joyful, and full of wins. During the high points, most people stay. But when the lights dim, when life gets messy, heavy, uncertain, that's when the truth appears. Who still shows up when there's nothing left to gain? Betrayal #5. Abandoning you in difficult times. Loyalty isn't proven when things are good. It's revealed when everything falls apart. And there's no betrayal quite like being left behind in your darkest hour. Because when someone disappears, when you're struggling, when you're in pain, overwhelmed, or barely holding on, the message is clear: your suffering is too much for me. Your struggle doesn't matter enough. This relationship only exists when it's easy. Sometimes they vanish without a sound. Your messages go unanswered. Your calls go ignored. They offer vague excuses, if any at all. Other times, they're more direct. "I can't deal with this right now. You're too much for me." But either way, the result is the same. They weren't there when you needed them most. The Stoics understood the truth of adversity. Seneca once said, "Adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it." Hardship doesn't just show you your own strength. It reveals who's real and who only stuck around for the good times. People who love you in comfort but leave you in crisis. They don't love you, they love what they get from you. They love the convenience, not the connection. Let me tell you about Jake. He had been in a long-term relationship with someone who, on the surface, was perfect. She was kind, attentive, supportive when things were going well. But when Jake lost his job and began spiraling into a long period of depression, everything shifted. She became distant, cold, indifferent. She stopped asking how he was doing, stopped making time for emotional conversations. Eventually, she said the words that sealed the truth. "I can't deal with this anymore." And she walked away. It was then that Jake realized her love wasn't for him. It was for who she needed him to be. Strong, successful, happy. As long as he provided comfort, she stayed. But the moment he needed support, she vanished. That's not love. That's convenience. So how do you respond to someone who abandons you in your hardest moments? First, accept the painful truth. Absence is a choice. If someone leaves you in your time of need, they never truly intended to stay for the long run. Second, don't chase them. When things improve, they may try to return, but you must remember who they were when you were at your lowest. And third, hold close the ones who stayed, the ones who answered your calls, who sat with you in silence, who stood by you when they had no answers, no solutions, just presence. Because pain is revealing. It strips away pretense. It shows you who's real, who's loyal, and who was only passing through. Never forgive someone who abandons you at your worst. Because when life gets hard again, and it always does, they'll do it again. Loyalty isn't proven in the sunshine. It's proven in the storm. Betrayal number 6. Speaking ill of you behind your back. Loyalty isn't just how someone treats you to your face. It's how they speak about you when you're not in the room, and what someone says in private when you're not around to hear it often reveals more truth than all the nice words they say in front of you. Because when someone speaks ill of you behind your back while pretending to support you in public, that's not a misunderstanding. That's betrayal. This kind of betrayal often hides behind charm. To your face, they smile, they listen, they nod, act concerned, act loyal. But behind closed doors, they twist your words, they mock your decisions, or worse, they share the secrets you trusted them with. At first, you don't know it's happening, but the whispers always reach you eventually. And when they do, the hurt cuts deeper than any argument ever could. Because people who gossip about you aren't harmless. They're not just venting, they are poisoning your reputation, your relationships, and your sense of security. And the most dangerous part, they often pretend to be your friend while doing it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The tongue of a traitor is sharper than any dagger." That's not just poetry, that's reality. Words might seem light, but they leave deep scars. They create doubt. They spread mistrust, and they turn people against you before you even have a chance to defend yourself. Let me share the story of Rachel. She had a best friend, someone she trusted with everything. They shared dreams, struggles, and secrets, but over time, Rachel began to notice something strange. People she barely talked to started repeating things she had only said in private. Rachel had been hearing whispers for weeks. Private things she'd only shared with one person were suddenly being repeated by others. Details of her fears, her insecurities, her past, twisted, distorted, reshaped into gossip. At first, she tried to give the benefit of the doubt. She didn't want to believe it. This can't be happening, she told herself. But one night, at a casual gathering, Rachel overheard her best friend laughing, not just at something she had said, but at one of her most personal fears, in front of a group of people, like it was a joke. That was the moment it all clicked. Rachel realized this person, someone she had once trusted with her deepest truth, was never truly on her side. They weren't listening to understand her. They were collecting her weaknesses and using them as stories, shared for approval, for laughs, for social gain. What hurt Rachel most wasn't the gossip. It was the betrayal from someone who once held her trust like it mattered. So how do you handle someone who speaks behind your back? First, believe the pattern. If more than one person comes to you with the same story, it's not a coincidence. It's not a rumor. It's a reflection of their behavior. Second, don't confront them in a burst of emotion. Why? Because manipulators and gossips deflect. They twist the narrative. They make you look unstable while painting themselves as misunderstood. You end up defending yourself while they quietly escape accountability. And third, remove them from your life, quietly, completely. No grand exit, no drama, just distance. Because if someone betrays your trust with their words, they will almost certainly betray you with their actions. You deserve friends who protect your name, when you're not around friends who guard your reputation as if it were their own. Never forgive someone who tarnishes your reputation for laughs, for sympathy, or for validation. Because if they'll speak against you in private, it's only a matter of time before they act against you in public. But words aren't the only weapon. Some betrayals are more dangerous, not because they're loud, but because they're subtle, calculated, strategic. Betrayal number 7, manipulating you for their gain. Manipulation is not an accident. It's not a misunderstanding. It's a plan. A manipulator studies you. They learn your fears, your triggers, your dreams, not to support you, not to help you grow, but to control you, to twist your choices into something that benefits them. This is not love. It is not friendship. It is betrayal in its most deliberate form. And here's what makes it so dangerous. It often doesn't feel like manipulation. At first, it looks like care. It sounds like concern. It even feels like love, until it does in single quotes. So how do you spot it? Ask yourself, do they make you feel guilty for saying no? Do they twist your words until you begin to question your own memory? Do they always play the victim when you try to express your feelings? These are not misunderstandings. These are tactics. Manipulators thrive in the quiet. They rely on your empathy, your patience, your need to be fair. They know you'll try to understand. And they weaponize that kindness, slowly, silently, until one day you wake up and realize you're making decisions from fear, not freedom. The Stoics believed true freedom comes from clarity. Epictetus said, "The wise man does not allow himself to be a pawn in another's game." Because when someone manipulates you, they don't see you as an equal. They see you as a piece on their board, something to move, to control, to use, and they will keep playing, for as long as you let them. You protect your space, you raise your standards, and when someone violates your trust, you walk away quietly, confidently, without apology, because strength isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. You don't need to shout. You don't need revenge. What you need is clarity, detachment, discipline. That is Stoic power. You rise not by fighting those who hurt you, but by refusing to remain where your soul is slowly dying. And if right now you're still holding on to someone who has shown you these signs, Ask yourself one question. Why? Why protect a bond that's already been broken? Why carry pain that was never yours to fix? You deserve peace. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. Not sometimes. Not only when it's easy, but always. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe for more content rooted in Stoic strength, and most importantly, leave a comment. Share which betrayal you've experienced, how you dealt with it, because your story might be the lesson someone else needs to hear today. This is more than content. This is a reminder, a return to clarity, a reconnection to your self-worth. Betrayal hurts, but it can also wake you up. And once you see clearly, you never go back to what once blinded you. Walk forward with strength. Walk forward with peace. And never again let betrayal feel safe in your presence. Because betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from those we once trusted. And now, you know how to walk away.